When we speak of success, most people immediately think of wealth, position, recognition, or power. But success is not a destination. Success is simply this, that in this moment, whatever you are doing it at your best. The problem is, people are too focused on the fruit, not on the root. They want the flower, but they forget to nurture the soil. They want to shine, but they are unwilling to polish themselves. So, what is the one rule for success? Very simple. Involve yourself absolutely in whatever you are doing. If you give yourself totally, your body, your mind, your energy, then success is not a question of if, it is only a question of when. Look at life itself. The seed does not worry about becoming a tree. It simply gives itself fully to the soil, to the water, to the sun. And in that total involvement, one day, the seed becomes a magnificent tree. You must understand, success is not about defeating someone else. Success is not about being better than your neighbor. Success is about being the best of yourself, moment to moment. If you can do even the smallest thing, whether it is sweeping the floor, writing a book, running a business, or leading a nation, with absolute involvement, then you are successful already. And when this becomes your way of being, larger dimensions of success will naturally follow. So, don't chase success like a shadow. Instead, bring intensity, awareness, and total involvement into every action. Then success will chase you. That is the one rule. When we say total involvement in every action, it means that your entire being is present in what you are doing right now. Most people are rarely in this state. They are physically in one place, mentally in another, and emotionally scattered all over. Their body may be here, but their thoughts are running to the past or projecting into the future. When you function like this, your action becomes half-hearted, your results become mediocre, and your life turns into a series of unfulfilled attempts. But if you can bring yourself fully into the present moment, with your mind, body, and energy aligned in one direction, then the quality of what you do rises to an entirely different dimension. Take a simple example. If you are drinking a glass of water and your mind is elsewhere, you don't really experience it. But if you are totally involved, you feel the coolness of the water, the sensation as it flows through your body, the aliveness it brings. In that moment, something very small becomes profound. This is the power of involvement. If you can bring such involvement into even the smallest actions, you will see success flowering naturally. Involvement means dissolving the boundary between you and what you are doing. It is not about forcing effort, it is about giving yourself completely to the task at hand. A musician becomes the music, a dancer becomes the dance, a craftsman becomes the craft. When this happens, success is not just an outcome, it is a natural expression of the depth of your engagement. The work itself becomes a joy, and excellence becomes inevitable. Many people confuse involvement with stress. They think if they push themselves harder, they are more involved. That is not involvement, that is compulsion. Involvement is not about pressure, it is about passion. When you are deeply involved, there is no burden in the action. Instead, there is a sense of absorption where time seems to disappear, where effort feels effortless, where even the body forgets its limitations. This is when you tap into your highest capability. Look at a child playing with something they love. Hours may pass, but the child is still immersed, unaware of hunger or fatigue. That natural, total involvement is what makes the child so alive and creative. As we grow older, we lose this quality because we become too entangled with worries, calculations, and comparisons. We no longer do things for the sheer intensity of doing them, but for some external result. The secret is to rediscover that childlike involvement in everything we do, whether small or big. If you study the lives of people who have achieved greatness in any field, you will notice one thing in common. They were utterly devoted to what they did. Their focus was not scattered, their energy was not diluted. Whether it was an artist, a scientist, a leader, or an athlete, the foundation of their success was not luck, not shortcuts, but unwavering involvement. Even when nobody was watching, Even when there was no recognition, they gave themselves fully. That is why, eventually, the world had to recognize them. Total involvement also transforms the way you experience life. When you are involved, you don't carry the burden of the past or the anxiety of the future. You are simply here, fully alive to this moment. Your mind becomes sharp, your emotions stable, and your actions effective. Most failures in life do not come because people lack intelligence or talent, but because they are never fully present. Their energy is wasted in distractions, and their focus is consumed by unnecessary thoughts. Involvement removes this wastage and channels everything you have into what matters now. There is a beautiful paradox here. When you are totally involved, success is not something you chase. Success becomes a byproduct of the quality of your action. If you cook with involvement, the food will have a different flavor. If you study with involvement, the knowledge will sink deep. If you work with involvement, your career will blossom. And if you live with involvement, your very presence will inspire others. This is not philosophy, it is pure practicality. If you examine your own life, you will see that the moments when you were deeply absorbed in something were the moments of your best performance. When you wrote something with complete attention, it came out beautifully. When you listened to someone with total focus, you understood them fully. When you worked on something with absolute dedication, the results exceeded even your own expectations. This shows that the key to success is not somewhere outside, it is in the depth of your involvement. But involvement requires a certain discipline of mind. The mind is like a restless monkey, always jumping from one branch to another. If you allow it to run wherever it wants, you cannot be involved in anything. You must train yourself to bring your mind back to what is before you. Each time it wanders, gently bring it back. Over time, this simple practice creates a new habit of attention. Then involvement is no longer a struggle, it becomes your natural state. Involvement also means not holding back. Many people do everything cautiously, always calculating how much to invest, how much to protect, how much to save for themselves. In this hesitation, they never give themselves fully, and so they never taste the fullness of life. To be involved means to be unreserved, to throw yourself into action without fear of loss. When you function like this, you discover capacities within you that you never imagined possible. Life itself responds differently when you are involved. Opportunities come to those who are absorbed, not to those who are distracted. People trust those who are attentive, not those who are half present. Even the simplest work, if done with involvement, becomes a doorway to higher possibilities. A flower does not bloom because it wants appreciation. It blooms because that is its nature. In the same way, if you give yourself totally to every action, your success will be as natural as a flower opening to the sun. Focus on the root, not the fruit, means shifting your attention from outcomes to the source of those outcomes. Most people live their lives chasing results. They want wealth, recognition, happiness, success, and fulfillment, but they rarely ask what is the foundation that creates these things. They look at the fruit hanging from the tree and spend all their energy stretching their hands to grab it, while forgetting that the fruit exists only because the roots are nourished. If the roots are strong and taken care of, the fruit will come by itself in the right season. But if the roots are ignored, even if you pluck one fruit today, the tree will wither and tomorrow there will be nothing left to harvest. In life, the root is your inner state, the way you think, the way you feel, the way you act in this very moment. The fruit is the recognition, the results, the achievements that others see. Society always points to the fruit because that is visible, but the invisible part is what actually sustains everything. If your inner foundation is weak, no matter how many temporary successes you gather, sooner or later they will collapse. If the foundation is strong, even if the fruit takes time to appear, it will come in abundance and it will last. Take a farmer as an example. If his eyes are always fixed on the market, calculating the price of the crop, he may miss the essential work of plowing, sowing, watering, and protecting the soil. His focus on the fruit blinds him to the care of the root. A wise farmer knows that if he tends to the soil with dedication, if he prepares it well and waters it regularly, the harvest will be good. He does not sit anxiously under the sky-demanding rain. He works on what is within his reach, and because the root is nourished, the fruit comes naturally. The same is true with human endeavors. If you are a student and your mind is only on the grades, you may feel constant pressure, fear, and anxiety. You may even resort to shortcuts, but the learning will not sink deep. If instead your focus is on the process of understanding, on curiosity, on involvement in learning, then the root grows strong. Grades will follow as a natural outcome, but more importantly, knowledge becomes part of you. If you are a professional and you are always worried about promotions, titles, or salaries, your work may lose its authenticity. But if you focus on excellence in what you do, on skill, on dedication, the promotions and rewards will come without you needing to chase them. The obsession with fruit is what makes people restless. They want quick rewards, immediate recognition, instant success. But life does not work like that. Just like a tree takes years to grow before bearing fruit, human success too has a gestation period. If you constantly dig up the seed to see if it has sprouted, you destroy it. But if you trust the process, nurture the soil, and wait patiently, growth will happen. The fruit will appear when the root is ready. This principle also applies to personal well-being. Many people want happiness, peace, and joy, but they look for them as fruits outside themselves. They think if they achieve this or possess that, happiness will come. But happiness is a fruit that grows only when the root within is nourished. If you cultivate balance, clarity, and inner strength, joy becomes your natural state. Without this root, no matter what external fruit you gather, the inner hunger will remain. Focusing on the root also means valuing process over product. When you play a sport, if your mind is fixed only on the trophy, you may miss the joy of the game, the training, the improvement. If your mind is fixed only on applause, you will never master the art. But if you give yourself to the practice, the discipline, the journey, then the fruit will be a natural consequence. The fruit is a result. The root is a choice. You cannot choose results. You can only choose the actions and attitudes that create results. There is also a deeper dimension. When you focus only on the fruit, you remain dependent on something external. Your joy rises and falls with success or failure. You are enslaved to outcomes. But when you focus on the root, you are free because your fulfillment comes from the action itself, not from the applause it may or may not bring. A musician who plays for the love of music is rooted. Whether people clap or not, the act itself is nourishing. That is the strength of being rooted. You are no longer at the mercy of circumstances. This approach requires patience because roots do not grow overnight. They demand consistency, care, and time. Many abandon their efforts because they do not see fruit quickly. But those who stay committed to the root, even when nothing seems to show, are the ones who eventually bear fruit so abundant that others marvel. The greatest successes in history were built by people who cared more about the depth of their roots than the shine of their fruits. They invested in practice, learning, resilience, and discipline long before the world noticed them. So to live wisely is to turn your attention inward, to strengthen the invisible, to nurture the root. If the root is strong, the fruit cannot be denied. If the root is neglected, no amount of chasing will give lasting results. Life is generous to those who take care of the essentials, and the essential is always the root. Success is being your best, not beating the rest, because true success has nothing to do with competition. From childhood, people are taught to measure themselves against others. They are told to run faster than their classmate, score higher than their neighbor, earn more than their colleague. Life is presented as a race where the only way to feel successful is to cross the finish line before someone else. But in this chase to be better than others, people forget the most important thing, that the real measure of success is not whether you are ahead of others, but whether you are bringing out the best that is within you. If you live by comparison, your life will always be enslaved to someone else's standards. Even if you win today, tomorrow someone will run faster, think sharper, or achieve more, and again you will feel inadequate. Comparison is a game that has no end, and in playing it, you will never know peace. But if your focus shifts from comparison to self-expression, from defeating others to discovering your own depth, then success becomes an inner journey rather than an outer contest. Being your best means functioning at your full capacity in every situation. It does not matter whether the world is watching or not, whether you are praised or ignored. If you have given yourself fully, if you know you held nothing back, that moment is success. A person who sweeps a floor with total care and attention may experience more fulfillment than a person who runs a company with constant anxiety and dissatisfaction. Success is not about the size of the action. It is about the depth of involvement and the honesty of effort. When you try to beat the rest, your mind is always outward, focused on what others are doing. Your energy is wasted in jealousy, competition, and imitation. You lose touch with your own uniqueness. But when you are intent on being your best, your attention turns inward. You start to explore your own potential, your own strengths, your own possibilities. Instead of asking, "Am I better than them?" you begin to ask, "Am I better than I was yesterday?" That shift changes everything. Growth becomes the measure, not comparison. The truth is, no two people are the same. Each human being is a unique possibility. To try to measure yourself against someone else is like comparing the sun to the moon. Both shine, but in different ways at different times for different purposes. If the moon tries to burn like the sun, it will fail. If the sun tries to glow softly like the moon, it will fail. But when each simply expresses its own nature, both are beautiful, both are complete, both are successful. In the same way, your success lies not in being like someone else, but in being fully yourself. Consider an athlete who is constantly looking over their shoulder to see how fast the competitor is running. That distraction will only slow them down. The fastest way to lose focus is to fixate on someone else's path. The fastest way to discover your strength is to keep your eyes on your own track. Life works the same way. If your energy is invested in being the best version of yourself, growth will be natural, and success will come as a byproduct. This perspective also brings a sense of freedom. When you define success as being your best, you no longer live under the burden of proving yourself to others. Your motivation does not come from fear of losing or desire to outshine, but from the joy of expression. When you paint because you love to pour yourself into colors. When you speak because you have something alive to share. The action itself becomes fulfilling, not the applause it may or may not bring. There is also great peace in this approach. If you are playing the game of beating the rest, even success will not give you rest. Every achievement will only fuel the fear of being overtaken. But if your game is about being your best, then each step forward is complete in itself. You are not threatened by others' success because their journey has nothing to do with yours. You can even celebrate others' growth because you are no longer in competition. You are simply walking your own path. The real challenge in life is not to outdo others, but to outgrow yourself. The joy of life is not in being superior, but in being sincere. If you can look back and see that today you are wiser, stronger, calmer, or more capable than yesterday, that is success. If you can face a situation knowing that you gave everything you had, that is success. The measure is not outside, it is within. To live like this is to free yourself from the endless rat race and step into a life of authenticity, growth, and fulfillment.